Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, January 25th, 2016.
Good morning. Commissioners Davis, James, Repenning, and Jacinto are present. We have a quorum. Would the Bureau representatives introduce themselves?
Good morning. Udi Jimenez, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning. Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning. Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning. Tom Carabello, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning. Mark Starr, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning. Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
And Terry Schmidt, Board Assistant Executive Officer. I have no speaker cards for public comments nor for any other item at this time.
Then we'll close general public comment. Our first item of business, the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, January 6, 2016. Is there a second to my motion that we approve those meeting minutes? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 1. Bureau of Sanitation, recommending the board approve and authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee to execute a proposed memorandum of agreement with the Department of Water and Power for the purpose of accepting LADWP funds in the amount of $249,325 for implementation of the pilot to scale stormwater capture initiative that is envisioned by Phase 2 of the multi-agency collaborative. Costa Kaporis.
Good morning, Board President, Commissioners, and Department representatives. This is just to accept DWP funding for a pilot study that is already underway and has already been approved by the board in a previous meeting, and we need that money to complete the study.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Commissioner Penning.
So just to clarify, this was a project, it's a multi-agency collaborative that we're involved with the county, with the Department of Water and Power, and with sanitation. And this is the project that funded the smart cisterns. So it was funded by a few different agencies. So this is us accepting money from the Department of Water and Power for the project, which is already underway.
Correct.
So we're accepting the DWP's portion. Any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Is there a motion on number 1? By Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any problem sending number 1 forthwith?
Thank you.
We'll send number 1 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 2. Bureau of Sanitation for Council District 14, recommending the board authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee to issue a notice of award to CH2M Hill Engineers Incorporated to provide technical and expert services for implementation of the Hollenbeck Park Lake Rehabilitation Project in response to task order solicitation SN45. Total budget for the task order is $800,000. The term of engagement is 20 months from the notice to proceed. Hamid Tadayan.
Good morning. This contract will work on developing a comprehensive concept report and holistic approach to stormwater management that is in that ties the Hollenbeck, the 6th Street bridge replacement, and the Mission and Jesse Air treatment facility, all of which are within close proximity and all tributary to LA River. Also, it will address the algae problem at the Hollenbeck Lake. Last year, we did a feasibility study by installing 25 floating islands in clusters of 5, and now we're completing that by installing 5 more clusters of 5s. That brings up about 50 of those islands, floating islands, restoring and repairing the filtration system, the aeration system, and installing the aeration system and chemical feed. It also developed the water quality monitoring program and identifying alternative sources of potable water for the lake, for the park. It'll also provide startup and optimization services.
Commissioner Repenning?
To clarify, of this, the 800,000, that is the budget for the item, 200,000 is actually being directed to us by CD14 through Rec and Parks. Is it Quimby funding?
No, originally was 750 we had before that. I believe last year we spent about 150,000 of it, so the 600 is available already. Then this is additional 200,000 is going to be by the recreation and public and park.
So of the 800,000, only 600,000 is sanitation funding.
No, they all is the Rec and Park. Last year we had 750,000, which we spent about $150,000 for a feasibility study, and the remaining was to implement projects. And now we're adding to that the concept report, which now brings up the total project budget to 800,000.
Okay, so the 200,000 that is being transferred from Rec and Parks is paying for the work that was already done last year?
No, it's going to be paying for the total project. The total project since last year, which was about 700, excuse me, was about 750,000. Now it went up more because of the concept report, as well as some other items that I cannot mention in here. So the 200,000 is to bring up the project budget from what it was before, which more items we added to that, to 800,000, which is the total budget.
Total project budget is 800,000.
800,000.
But 200 of that is Rec and Parks funding.
Yes, it's
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's stated in the funding. The status of funding is referenced in the board report. Is there anything different from your understanding than what is in the board report regarding the status of funding?
no.
Okay. Okay, I was a little confused. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. So the status of funding statements in the board report are accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. Anything further? Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you. I'm going to sort of ask a question probably that I know that our colleague, Commissioner Davis, would do and talk about the BIP, the numbers, which compared to the anticipated are relatively low. There's, if I'm correct, or maybe I'm not, I'm looking at the summary sheet on page 4, where MEB, WEB, SBE, and DVBE participations are kind of lower than anticipated. I mean, can you talk a little bit about what are we seeing in terms of relatively low numbers? Because we have for the TOS has higher numbers in all those categories almost, except the EBE.
I'm sorry, you're saying that maybe number, you're saying that it's low?
Numbers of what we have are relatively low compared to what we anticipated on page 3.
Well, this is what this contract provided in here. For what this proposal for us, it was actually among all the 25 contractors that we reached out, one responded, and this is what they had at this point.
Disappointing, though.
I would mention, Commissioner Jacinto, I hear your point. I would mention that on prior items, I have another question regarding the process I'll get to in a minute. On prior items, CH2M Hill has been called out as being particularly good when it comes to establishing our goals and indeed going beyond our goals. I would only offer, it's pure speculation, but I would only offer that without additional information from the Bureau, that this is a prime in this instance that is very well versed and very well experienced on reaching our goals. So I'm not concerned that the attempt wasn't made here, based on their record. I would just offer that. Regarding, though, this was a toss that was sent to the 25 firms, I think, on the list.
Yes.
3 firms were at the pre-meeting.
One firm responded only.
Recognizing that, but the board report says 3 firms. A pre-proposal meeting was not held for this. However, before the submittal deadline, 3 firms, Black & Veatch, CDM Smith, and CH2M Hill, contacted sanitation staff and inquired about the scope. Do you know that to be correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know any reason why the other 2 did not go farther than just that initial inquiry regarding the scope?
I don't know. I don't have any answer for that. I'm not sure what was the reason not to sending proposals.
Okay.
I'm not sure
One
what
of
the
the
decision was
things
based.
that I've asked in prior circumstances is that that inquiry be made. I would like the inquiry to be made.
Okay.
And it's
We note that.
typically we have the inquiry made beforehand, but I would like the inquiry made on this one as well. It could be any number of reasons, and they may not want to share, but I would at least like the inquiry to be made because it can help as it helps the board as we move forward in our attempts to provide a wider choice in the field, recognizing this is an existing list.
Yes, sir. We will do that.
No, I don't. That said, I did get a note from the council office this morning indicating their support for the item. But I would like the information regarding that I just asked for regarding the other 2. Now, my suspicion is that they'll respond. We deal with those companies a fair amount. But I would like to get that information back.
Okay.
Okay?
No problem.
Commissioner Cinto?
President James, I support that, just to understand why out of the 25, we only had really 1 that had responded, just to learn and to analyze why only 1, and what were the other firms, despite, CH2ML having a good inclusion program. I just want to understand. And so if it could be presented back to the board, I'd appreciate that.
Well, then here's my concern with that. On this item, and Ted, you feel free to chime in, to have it, I'm concerned about their length of time. If we adopt this today, then we're kind of at Black & Veatch and CH and CDM Smith or whatever. What's the other one? Smith. CDM Smith. Yeah. I don't know that they're going to get back to us that quickly. Even though we make the inquiry, it may take several days. It may take a week. So for that information to be presented at the board, would we have to have an agenda item just to present that information, Ted?
Well, you could continue the item. It's within the scope of this agenda item. I mean, if they had the answer to the inquiry right now, they would tell you. So if they went back and talked to the firms that chose not to submit proposals, you could just, if you wanted to.
I want the information going forward. Yeah. I don't, unless one of my colleagues senses that the information would affect their vote on the item, I don't want to continue the item. Particularly since
I see. I misunderstood your question.
The message was sent from the council office that this is something that they support.
If you,
yes.
I wanted to ask staff here if, in fact, CH2M Hill did discuss some of the feedback that they got or did not get from those who were, was it pre-approved? Is that
I'm sorry, from some of the items that they discussed from what?
with regard to those, we were talking about the inclusion program, and Commissioner mentioned that he was concerned that there was such a low number. Did they have a conversation with you about
They did reach out as the requirement to reach out to all those other contractors, agencies, or other groups. This is what they received. They reach out as the city has a requirement.
Sometimes in the past, some companies have stated that the fee that we have on certain projects is too low, given the other opportunities that they have. The other curve is the available amount of individuals that we have to choose from is not always as great as it is on certain projects. So I didn't know if they discuss any of those variables with you and giving you feedback to the lack of response on this particular project.
No, I'm sorry. I did not inquire any further than that.
Again, I'm not concerned regarding CH2M Hill's efforts.
Right.
I'd just like to know why the other two didn't play ball. It's not going to change my vote. I would like to know it going forward.
So,
because Ted?
no, so if I can answer your question.
Yes.
If the board has a couple of options, it can continue the item, get all the information, vote at a future point, or if the board chooses to act the item today, approve the task order, it can simply agendize in a week or two, however long it takes, just an informational item for the Bureau to get back to the board regarding the feedback from the firms that chose not to submit proposals.
Why don't we do that? That way we have it out in the open. Thank you, Ted. So what I would do then is make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2 as it is written, seconded by Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any problem sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. What I would like the Bureau to do, and I think Commissioner Cinto will join me on this, is report back that we'll put an item, just an oral report on our board, for our board regarding the inquiry from the other two as to why they were not on the toss.
Sure.
Okay, and if they respond, they respond. If they don't, they don't. But that way we get the information.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3. Recommending the board request the Collections Board of Review to authorize the directors of the Bureau of Sanitation and their Office of Accounting to administratively remove from their account receivables and other city records the delinquent industrial wastewater fee balances that are less than $5,000, older than 3 years in age, and owed by industrial users with inactive industrial wastewater permits. The total for this is $179,618.41. So, Sonny.
Mr. Board President, Commissioners, Bureau representatives, good morning. The Bureau requests that the Board approve and forward this Board report to the Collections Board of Review to authorize the Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting to remove these delinquent accounts from our industrial waste billing system. These accounts has been referred to the primary and secondary collection agency by the City of Los Angeles, and the collection agencies have returned these accounts to the Bureau as uncollectible due to the statute of limitation of 3 years, and some of them they cannot locate since most of these businesses are already closed or they had a change of ownership. So in compliance with the guidelines issued by Office of Finance, we have to submit this report to the Collections Board of Review in order for us to remove this account. So the final approval will be given by the Collections Board of Review.
You know, we've been kind of round and round on this issue with our accounting office and the Office of Finance, to some degree the city attorney's office, and we just haven't come up with a better way, at least that I've heard of, for kind of satisfying some of these accounts. I typically look a little closer, and we always have this long discussion about it, and we never end up doing anything other than going ahead and allowing the write-off for the obvious reasons. We look a little closer perhaps at some of the larger accounts rather than some of the smaller accounts. But my question would be is there anything in the world of new technology that, I guess my question's twofold as I sit here and think about it. One, is there anything in the world of new technology that helps us or that can help us collect on more of these delinquent accounts that you know of? I realize I didn't ask you this ahead of time, so I'm kind of asking as you stand here today, which is fine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe you know of something I don't, number one. And number two, do we keep track of how we do kind of year to year on percentages of collections to see whether our efforts are actually bearing fruit?
Okay. For the first question, I don't have really a specific response, but so far, the Office of Finance, who is in charge of the revenue analysis in the city, they have opted to refer delinquent accounts to collection agencies. We used to have only a primary collection agency, and then after that, we can refer them for write-off. Recently, they have revised the requirements wherein the primary collection agency can have the account for 9 months, and then after 9 months, they return to the Bureau, and then the Bureau has to refer them to a secondary collection agency. The secondary collection agency has 6 months to collect the outstanding fee, and if they're not able to collect it, they return the file or the account to the referring department. For these invoices, we have done that. Unless the other thing that the Bureau has done is they have starting doing some administrative orders by inviting these accounts that are delinquent, especially the businesses that are still doing business in the city of LA. Out of our inventory, we have about 53 industries that owes $4,000 or more. We have invited them by sending them a suspension order letter, inviting them to meet with us and see how we can help them in paying their fees. One thing that we are offering now is a payment plan, depending on the outstanding balance. This was one of the recommendations of Commissioner Romero for the Bureau of Sanitation to handle in-house the payment plan program. And we have done that. Out of that 53 that we invited, about 30 showed up. And out of the 30, about 15 requested for payment plan. The others are disputing the fees or have claimed that they have filed for bankruptcy. So when they have filed for bankruptcy, we can't do anything about it until
You get in line at that point.
until the bankruptcy court decides on how much they're going to pay the city. Some of them, they're disputing it, so we're reviewing it, and hopefully we can resolve it. So we have proactively collected fees, but for some, it's really hard for them to pay the fees because business is slow, and their priority is paying their utility bills. Because for the utility bills, if you don't pay, they cut their service. For us, as sanitation, we provide service. It's hard for us to cut their sewer line because they have to discharge their domestic waste to the sewer. So it's a balancing act for the Bureau of Sanitation to provide service and at the same time to collect the revenue that is due for the city.
One thing that is always, the times that we hear from our in-house offices that deal with this work, you're always kind of amazed when they come in and tell you the amount of work they do and the effort to try and collect this money. It's not like we don't effort to collect it. We do, and we go to pretty great lengths. I would like to know, though, kind of how we do. So maybe next time when you come for the next report, a year to year on how we're doing. I'm going to guess that our collections may be up a bit, only because, in a good way, only because the economy's a bit better, more so than what our efforts might reflect.
Yeah, we've been in the range about 88 to 90% collection rate for the last 10 years. So there's still those, the 10% are mostly the regular delinquent accounts wherein we go out there, try to collect, and we can just issue them a notice of violation. And the last option really is to come back to you and say, since they didn't pay their fees, we have to revoke their industrial waste permit. And for us, and for you to revoke the industrial waste permit means they cannot discharge anything to the sewer.
Now, that's a big deal. We've had that on a couple of occasions. That's
Yeah, we
rare.
have
And we don't do that for amounts under $5,000.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, we've had, those are larger issues, which we look at a little closer. Interestingly enough, I will share you just based on my own experience, you say that we collect about 88 to 90%. That's not different from the private sector, which is kind of maybe just a coincidence, but in my experience in the private sector, that happens a bit too. Okay. Thank you, sir.
And I request that
Chief
you...
Harris, don't go too far.
And we request that we send forthwith to the Collections Board of Review, because the Collection Board of Review meeting is on Wednesday, so I've already requested for a placeholder for their agenda, and they've included it as long as they received the approved board report today or tomorrow.
Okay. We'll move forward with agenda item number 3, and next time let's look at the year-to-year on how we're doing.
Okay, sure.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on number 3, Commissioner Repenning? I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any problem sending it forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Madam Executive Officer, we cleared the desk.
Yes.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.